Welcome to Lesson 33, From Acne to Awesome, Achieving Clear Skin with IF, Intermittent Fasting, and a Low-Carb Diet. This was revolutionary to me. I have had acne my whole life, well, since puberty. So over 40 years of acne, and I could never crack the code on it. I tried many different things. I never tried them longer than a few weeks, unfortunately, and probably some of those fad diets and those yo-yo diets I had done might have worked if I had actually been able to be successful at them, which was why they were yo-yo diets. So finally, I figured out how to cure my acne, and it was a byproduct of losing the weight and getting healthier. And I didn't really realize it was happening at the time because my goal was lose the weight, stop my yo-yo dieting, make sure I can maintain the weight loss. So I would try many things over the years. I'd try the masks, I would try soaps, I would try all kinds of creams. It was hereditary. My parents had acne, and unfortunately my kids had acne. And so I tried everything, and I just couldn't solve the problem. When I was losing the weight and I was cleaning up my diet and I was going low carb and I was reducing the sugars and the grains and the processed foods, after about 2 months, I noticed my skin was clearing up. And so what was happening? What was different? I wasn't changing what soap I was using. I wasn't changing any creams. I honestly haven't used face cream on a regular basis since 2012. My daughter went really hippie at one point. She went off of makeup, and I convinced myself I could go out of the house without makeup and, without mascara, even though I had rarely gone out of the house without mascara or eyeliner before that. And so she went hippie for a while, and I tried it, and I liked not having to wear makeup all the time. Anyways, since then, I wasn't having to take makeup off my face, so I wasn't using soap as much. I just don't use face cream or soaps unless I'm wearing makeup. In general, I don't wear makeup a lot. Anyways, so I was not using specific soaps necessarily, but I still had my acne. But when I was losing the weight, going low carb, trying the intermittent fasting, cleaning up my diet, I started noticing my skin cleared up, my wrinkles were getting less, I had less bumps on my arm, my chest, my back, my face. I had less acne. And there came a point where I had no acne. But this is the thing, I wasn't actually looking for it. It was like a byproduct of the weight loss, because the weight loss was what I was focusing on, getting healthy and losing the weight. And then I realized I have no acne, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is a great byproduct of losing the weight and getting healthy. So there's another thing I was going to mention to you, which I talk about in this book related to the diet. So there's a diet called the Autoimmune Protocol. And I learned about this diet back in 2012. My son, he cured his acne for a time. He wasn't planning on doing it for that reason. He was trying to solve his stomach aches because he thought he had celiac disease. He went on the Autoimmune Protocol diet for 2 months, and he did it really extreme. He took out this category called FODMAPs, and he had the organ meats and the bone broth and the kombucha, and he went all the way through. He completely cured his acne. It was amazing. And the next summer, when I had heart palpitations, which I could not figure out why I had them, and my doctors couldn't figure it out, they said, oh, it's just perimenopause. And I was 43, and I was frustrated with that. I Googled some stuff. I figured it, yeah, it's related to my diet. So I went on the Autoimmune Protocol diet for 3 weeks. I prepared myself because it's a really boring diet, and there's huge risks to it because it can make you malnourished. So it's never recommended for very long. Elimination diets are never recommended for very long. But I basically cured my gut, and my heart arrhythmia went away. And so that's 11 years ago, it's never come back to the degree it was before. 98% of it is gone. Amazing. So the Autoimmune Protocol diet cured my son's acne after 2 months, cured my heart arrhythmia after 3 weeks. Those are just our stories. But because the Autoimmune Protocol diet is so extreme, you can't keep doing it. But some of the principles are still there, where you're healing your gut and you're understanding that our bodies need healthy fuel, and that's what's going to make our skin clear. I hadn't put it all together to realize I needed to do it for a chunk of time, a longer chunk of time, and also make it not one of these diets that's an elimination diet where you take just about everything out. And that's what I write about in the book. Is it's really extreme, and you basically just eat cooked vegetables and meat for 2 to 3 weeks, or maybe up to 6 weeks or 8 weeks, but never ever longer than that. It's so risky to become malnourished. So thankfully my heart arrhythmia didn't come back, even though I didn't keep doing that diet, but I had never solved the problem of my acne. And so when I was doing the low carb and the intermittent fasting and losing the weight and my skin started to clear up, I used to have bumpy skin on my elbows. I used to have that chicken skin on my arms. It's all gone. Now, when I bring back high carb foods, processed foods, it comes back. So I know that those are the things, the grains, the high carb foods, the high sugar foods, those are the trigger, and I got to do it for a long chunk of time. It takes, I think, 6 to 8 weeks for your skin to refurbish, or to get new skin cells. So people will do it for a short time and then it doesn't last. But this is free. I'm not having to pay for expensive skin creams. I don't put any cream on my face, moisturizers, anything. Unless I'm wearing makeup, I wash it off, and then I still don't put moisturizer on my skin. I'm trying to eat so that my body is taking care of my skin. My skin is a reflection of what's inside, is how I'm understanding it. So it's less expensive. I'm not buying anything other than soaps to wash off my makeup. And I have a very fast skin routine. I can do my makeup in about 4 minutes. I got my mascara, my eyeliner, my lip liner, my blush, and my foundation. The foundation is because I have some skin spots. I have, sunspots from living in Brazil. And when I'm on the camera, I want it to be all one color. I don't wear any, makeup on my neck, etc. And I hate false eyelashes. I've only tried them once. They feel awful. So I just found a really good mascara, and, you can see my eyes better. So that's a simple, fast makeup routine. It's cheap because I'm not buying lots of skin creams and I'm not buying lots of soaps unless I'm wearing makeup. And I just don't put anything on my skin. Of course, when I shampoo my hair, then some of that shampoo, that soap is getting on my skin. But so far, this is the cure for acne, which was the intermittent fasting and eating low carb. Now, it's possible also that it's the weight loss, because weight loss, when you have more weight on your body, there's more inflammation. So it's possible it's also the inflammation that's making me have less acne. But I had weighed 115 pounds after my second daughter was born. I'd had 3 kids and I weighed 115 pounds. Like, I was size 4. I was skinny, and it was on one of these yo-yo diets. Still had my acne. So being skinny, I don't think was the issue. I think it's the healthy eating, the intermittent fasting. So this is my story. This is my take on it, and I'm sharing it with you in case this might work for you. And you can try it out. I do not recommend the Autoimmune protocol diet for very long, but you can try it if you want. Research it. There's also a diet called the GAPS diet, and that's similar, where it's just eliminating a whole bunch of things, and then you slowly bring some foods back. When I did the Autoimmune protocol, I didn't slowly bring it back because I was feeling so deprived. It was so boring. It was like there was no fun in the food at all, no enjoyment in eating at all during that time. So it wasn't sustainable for more than the 3 weeks for myself. And because I had a very specific goal to cure my heart arrhythmia, then when my heart arrhythmia went away, like, I used to have it multiple times a day, multiple times at night, and I'll get, a flutter maybe once every 3 months. Like, it's just night and day. So it cured it. So that's a byproduct of doing that very simple thing. It might not work for everybody, of course. There's many other reasons why people have a heart flutter. I have this congenital heart issue where I have a hole in my heart. When I was born, I guess the hole didn't close up between one side of the heart and the other. So that's one thing that maybe caused the heart arrhythmia, but now I don't have it, so I don't know. We aren't perfect. Our bodies are not perfect, and we have to figure out how to live with the bodies that we have. Anyway, so acne, try it out. Try the low-carb diet with intermittent fasting and see if this works. So because so many people deal with acne, I came up with 10 things that I think might help based on what I have been experiencing and what I've put into practice for the last 2.5 years when I've cured my acne. So number one, eat more one ingredient food, so basically unprocessed, and that includes the grains because grains are processed foods. Number two, choose low carb if possible. Number three, use the 2-bite rule for dessert. So this is where we don't want to eliminate everything because then you can't sustain it. You'll cure your acne and then you can't sustain it and you're back eating all the desserts and the snacks again and your acne comes back. So you got to be able to sustain it. Try the 2-bite rule to make this sustainable where you're not going to eliminate the food, just have a very, very small amount so it doesn't overload your system. Number four, aim for 90% clean eating. I've talked about this in the past lessons where we don't want to try for perfection. We don't want to try 100% because we will fail. We are not perfect, so it's impossible to try a perfect diet. Aim for 90% and have this 10% extra for the times when you don't have a choice of what's put in front of you, or you're at a restaurant and you don't have a choice. So aim for the 90% if possible. Number five, try intermittent fasting and no snacking. It's really, really hard when you're used to snacking, when you're used to having 5 meals a day, 10 meals a day. It's hard to get started, but if you can try this and combine these things together, the clean eating and the intermittent fasting, and try it for 2 months and see if your acne clears up. Number six, try eating fewer grains. That's related to the processed foods. Number seven, try eating more cooked vegetables. Cooked vegetables, I learned when I was researching trying that autoimmune protocol diet, are really easy to digest. We think, oh, let's eat raw. And there's people who go on raw diets and they think this is a great way to eat. This is what our ancestors did. But actually, when I researched it, it looks like heating food actually helps our body digest it. It sort of pre-digests a lot of the food so our body doesn't have to work so hard. So it's being nicer on our body. When I eat cooked vegetables, I feel nothing. Like it just digests so easily because basically I've done some of the work for my body by cooking it ahead of time. So I find cooked vegetables is the easiest on my body, and that's just my preference and also from what I've researched. Try bone broth. Bone broth is really, really healthy for you, and if you can get your hands on some bones and get a slow cooker, those two things together would be great. If you can't, then you can buy bone broth, but that's technically a processed food. It's been made by a factory, and you don't always know what ingredients have gone into it. Even if you cook a whole chicken and you take the bones and you put them in some water and you cook it for another hour, and then you use that liquid, which has taken out some of the nutrients from the bones and extracted some of it, it's going to be more nutritious than just putting water in when you're making soup, etc. So try bone broth if you can. When I was doing the autoimmune protocol diet, I made bone broth and I drank a half a cup a day of bone broth for those 3 weeks. So I would take it to work in a little glass jar. I was working at the government office and I would heat it up in the microwave and I'd put salt in it. Didn't taste very good. And back then I never even added vegetables to it. So it didn't even really taste like soup, but I knew it was nutritious and it was going to help heal my gut and make me feel better, and sure enough it did. I don't have bone broth on a regular basis right now, but whenever I do have it, I do feel healthier. Number 10, be patient. Give your body 2 months to adjust before you will notice a change. So trying this and then thinking after 3 weeks, why isn't my acne gone? So just notice for 2 months and see if your acne improves. Now, because you're watching this, you're on your weight loss journey, you're going to be having less inflammation as you lose weight. Then see if after you try the intermittent fasting, you try the low carb, that you're going to notice your skin improve. Now, you might be one of these people who are blessed with amazing genes. You have clear skin your whole life, and I'm just like so envious, or I used to be so envious of those people. And I still am envious because I have scars and marks on my body from the amount of pimples that I used to have, and blackheads and whiteheads and all of those. Oh, that was another thing I was going to mention. When I started the intermittent fasting and I was on the Facebook group, I saw them talking about, insulin resistance, and one of the signs of it were skin tags and then the whiteheads. And I used to have whiteheads right around here. And as I was losing the weight and doing intermittent fasting and low carb, they all went away and they haven't come back. So that was another thing. I just totally had forgotten to talk about that. So the whiteheads totally went away, you know, and I had little spots all around there. That was another little benefit. I don't think I had any skin tags on me, but there are people who say the intermittent fasting totally takes the skin tags away. So research this. So I would recommend finding a Facebook group, one where you can search in the search bar for that Facebook group and search a medical issue. And in that group, they talk about just about every medical issue you can imagine, and it's people's stories. So it's anecdotal. It's not necessarily scientific research, but when hundreds of people have the same results, it is like a scientific research. It's just not validated with a control group. But when 100 people have success and you try it and you also have success, that's great. Then you're part of that mini scientific study in some ways. So we are our own scientific studies. We do scientific research on ourselves every single day by what we put in our body and the results that we get. That's how I see it. So I dabbled in a lot of topics in this one, but I didn't want to miss talking about these because I feel they're important and they're things that you might be experiencing, and hopefully these are things that you could try out or research more about and just understand how you might be able to cure your acne and solve some of your issues with the low carb and intermittent fasting. So we have one more module to go, and we're going to talk about things to do after you reach your goal weight. And I think it's important that you see this as your possible future. And so I wanted to include this in the weight loss course, even though it's going to probably be a while for you. I hope that these things you'll be able to see could be possibly in your future. So I'll see you in the next lesson.